Have you ever questioned representation of Latina women in the mass media? What comes to your mind when I say, imagine a Latina woman? Be honest. Is it a curvaceous woman with a feisty attitude? Maybe the woman is a maid. Maybe the woman has a thick accent. If these stereotypes are what came to your mind, don't be too hard on yourself. Because the reason behind these personifications go much deeper than you and I. Throughout history, Latina women have been stereotyped as sexualized beings. The mass media, including film, TV, tabloids, music, basically any form of media which reaches the masses, portrays Latina women as curvaceous, loud, sexy, spicy, and wild in comparison to their counterparts. Typically, white women take the lead roles and are seen as sensible and wholesome, still sexualized in their own way, but that's a whole other rant. While the Latina often plays a silly lackey who is hypersexualized in nature. There are major implications as a result of fitting Latinas into a single sexualized mold that are everlasting in today's society. So, how is it that women of all shades, shapes, and backgrounds from 21 different Latin countries are supposed to fit the mold of a curvy sexual bombshell? History shows us that this phenomenon is not a new one. Dolores Del Rio and Carmen Miranda are known as the first international Latina stars who brought Latinas to be broadcasted around the globe. What's wrong with that? Sounds awesome. Unfortunately, they simultaneously created the stereotypes for Latinas that are still present till this day. These women existed under an era of tropicalism, an international policy created by our very own FDR, which deemed Latins to be exotic and diplomatically harmless. Tropicalism manifested by the American government in order to quiet xenophobic fears of global interaction with Latin America. But there are two sides to every story. Tropicalism also served as an opportunity to exploit the region via trade. As a result, we see these women take over international screens with lighthearted dancing, festivity, colorful clothing, sexualized rhetoric, broken English, and demeanors that are not to be taken too seriously or otherwise seen as intellectual and a threat. Now, if we're exploiting a region, we don't want to feel too bad about it, so let's make these people mindless, am I right? No. Fast forward to modern day, where we still see those stereotypes being portrayed. Isabel Molina Guzman explains in her novel Dangerous Curves that news is created through audience interpretations of media, regardless of the truth behind what is presented. She argues what is seen on screen is evidently taken as fact. Forms of mass media, such as tabloids, play a major role in the stereotyping of individuals. Jennifer Lopez, for example, has become the standard image of a Latina woman. Since her rise to stardom, Jennifer Lopez has been sexualized because the tabloids disperse information they believe will sell to audiences. As a result, actors, singers, performers of all sorts exploit their own bodies and minds in order to be displayed in those tabloids. Thus, a vicious cycle is created. Media gives us what they think we think what media gives us is what we want, and in the end, what is seen on screen is taken as fact. As a result, Latina women have been playing the role not to be taken seriously in media. The study, Race Ethnicity in 600 Popular Films, examining on-screen portrayals and behind-the-camera diversity, examines how minority women are objectified in film. The top-grossing films of 2013 were analyzed, as well as the demographics of the characters and whether or not they were hypersexualized. The study found that of the total amount of characters, only 4.4% of them were Latin. They also found that 37.5% of Latina females were more likely than females of other races to be shown partially or fully naked on screen. Latina women are not only underrepresented in the mass media, but also hypersexualized when they are rarely shown. So, how are these stereotypes affecting Latina women in the United States? I asked Tiffany Claude, a Florida State University student, how she felt about the portrayal of Latinas in mass media, and if she's been personally affected by those stereotypes. Here's what she had to say.
I feel like that the representation of women that are Latina or Hispanic or something that are identified as that and like as Native culture can sometimes be like misconstrued to be like one kind of person, where it's like, well, actually two kinds of people, where it's like one is like sexy curvy girl that like barely speaks any English and is always really angry or really like loud and stuff like that, like such as on Modern Family, Sofia Vergara, like she's always portrayed as that kind of woman, and like I love her, she's really funny, but at the same time seeing someone only like her all the time can be like the wrong sort of way that like Latina women can be represented, because we're also smart, intelligent people that own businesses and like, you know, are in law and politics and stuff like that, along with like it, even though it is like a sort of stereotype that we're passionate people, I guess, that it's also like there's more to us than just like being fiery or spicy. I think one particular moment I can remember that's like I was most stereotyped for like either being Latina or something like that is the fact that like I personally don't speak Spanish very well, and so whenever like I bring up that I'm Hispanic, people go like, oh, speak Spanish, and I'm just like, I'm sorry, I don't speak Spanish, I grew up here just like you. So it's one of those things where it's like they won't be like, oh, they won't believe me or something like that, or they just go like, oh, then you're not really Hispanic, and I'm just like, excuse me? And not only that, they expect me to like whenever I'm angry to start speaking like really fast in Spanish or something, and I'm like, that's not how it works. Just because I am Hispanic, but it doesn't mean that every part of my life is a stereotype. And though I would love to learn to speak Spanish and continue doing that, considering it's part of my culture, it's not something that necessarily makes me Hispanic or Latina.
Well, if you can't take Latina women seriously, then expect a lack of representation in leadership roles. Latinas are underrepresented as business owners, especially among the Fortune 500 companies. They make disproportionately less than their male and non-Hispanic white counterparts. These disparities are leaving a growing proportion of the population more vulnerable to poverty and its implications. Today, only 9 of the 98 women in Congress are Latina. All serve in the House of Representatives. And 5 of those 9 women represent California. On top of that, if Latinas are sexualized in film, that's most likely going to carry over into real life. 77% of Latinos surveyed by the Southern Poverty Law Center said that sexual harassment was a major problem in the workplace. Although several factors lead to the causation of these statistics, the media is a major contender that helps to perpetuate the oppression of Latina women by exemplifying them as inferior. Don't get too bummed though. There is a lot we can do to help the situation. For example, support Latina women for government positions, begin casting Latinas in roles other than the silly lackey, or even stop calling your Latina friends spicy. And as we peel back the sexualized layers that media has told you to look for in Latinas, remember, we're just people too.